All right, let's go ahead and start. So I'm Paul Austin. I'm teaching the OnRamps UT Computer Science class here. Really excited. The students are definitely getting through some of those first little bits of getting connected with UT. So I've invited Megan, um, Megan here tonight, and she really helps explain it really well. You want to take it from there, Megan?
Sure, yeah. So I'll share my screen with you guys in just a second. We're just going to give kind of the 30,000-foot view about what OnRamps is, why it was designed the way it was, how it differs from traditional like AP or dual credit courses. So you can kind of see why this is a unique opportunity for your students. A little bit about myself really quickly. My name is Megan Bullock. I work with OnRamps in the Partnerships and Strategic Initiatives Division. I was a teacher before this and stuff, so I've kind of seen both sides of things. And I'm grateful that you guys took time out of your evening to learn a little bit more about the program and just how it can help benefit your students in the long run. So I'll share my screen in just one second. All right, so can you guys see these slides? Good. Okay. All right. So OnRamps, it's a way for us to offer your students, oh, and sorry, my screen goes to my dual monitor, so I hate how it looks on Zoom that I'm looking at no one, but what can you do? OnRamps is a network that offers distance education courses offered through a unique dual enrollment model. The reason why we created a dual enrollment model versus a traditional kind of dual credit model can kind of be summarized in this image that we see here. So this experience is needed because one of the most powerful drivers of low college persistence and graduation rates is the misalignment of high school expectations and college expectations. So as you can see in this displayed image, we see from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board that we're losing students along the college going pipeline. So of the 100 students that you see at the top of this image, only 54 of them actually went on to enroll in an institute of higher education. And then out of that 54, only 23 went on to complete a degree or a certificate. And that was allowing for a 6-year period to complete that degree or certificate. So this isn't an image to say like, oh, high schools aren't adequately preparing students for college. That's not the case because a lot of students, and I'm sure Summit Christian is exemplar here, they offer great educational resources for students. So it's not an academic issue as much as it is a necessary skill set issue. It highlights that students often don't have skills outside of academia, such as like time management, for example, self-advocacy, self-monitoring, persistence, daring to fail, things of that nature. That's kind of the problem that we see here. And that's also the problem that OnRamps is committed to addressing. And as you can see in the next image here, there is hope in addressing this problem. Nationwide research from multiple sources shows that students who take just one dual credit or equivalent course double their chances of completing college. So this doesn't say that a student has to take a certain type of course. It doesn't have to be a math course. It doesn't have to be a science course necessarily. They don't have to earn an A in that course even. It's just the act of being in a course like this that's going to allow them to double their chances of success. And this kind of all ties into our mission as an organization. Our mission is what drives everything that we do, and it's to increase the number and diversity of students who engage in learning experiences aligned with the expectation of leading research universities. This missional focus is not just for UT. That's not the only university that we want students to go to, although it is a great school. We know that if students just attend college, period, that's better for the state, that's better for our nation, for us to have a stronger economy, for students to have these kind of unique skill sets down the road. And if they choose not to go to college, that's fine too. Again, they're gaining these necessary skills to be successful in life. And so OnRamps will hopefully help do that through our mission. There we go. And as you can see in this image here, to achieve that kind of college-ready vision that we were talking about earlier and to achieve that missional focus, we want to offer students an authentic college experience while they're still in high school and while they still have the support system that you as parents and you as high school teachers can give to them. We understand this can be a big adjustment, so our model offers a lot of opportunity for intervention and support and guidance for students along the way that they might not receive in other kind of traditional advanced or dual credit classes. So as you can see at the top, the dual credit model that's highlighted at the visual top is what our instructors are kind of used to seeing. As a teacher just delivering information, students getting one grade, and either they got credit at the end of the day or they didn't. Instead, in our dual enrollment model, we're going to see the students kind of leave this experience with 2 grades and 2 different kind of distinct high school and college experiences here. So an easy way to kind of break down like what's happening on the high school side versus what's happening on the college side is to ask yourself, what would a college student do to prepare for their test, their upcoming exam or project outside of the classroom? And the answers that you'd probably come up with, which are likely focused on studying, attending tutorials or office hours, doing practice problems, things of that nature. That's what the high school teacher is facilitating in their classroom. They're doing everything that they can to get students engaged with the material, to get them to ask questions, to get them to kind of do the actual like work part of the course to scaffold up to an eventual college exam. So that's kind of what you see in the top portion of this bottom visual. On the college side, learning and assignment submissions are taking place via the online learning management system that we actually use at UT. It's called Canvas. So it's a Canvas LMS, learning management system. Students are going to log into Canvas to review their digital text, to watch helpful videos if that's applicable, to read articles if that's pertinent to the course, go over lecture notes, kind of whatever is housed in that Canvas shell is just supplemental material for the students. And this will take place during the high school class period with the high school instructor kind of acting as the facilitator or the guide there. And then students will also access their college exams, which are made and graded by the college instructor that we employ at UT, online under the supervision of their high school instructor during the school day. So the reason that students receive 2 separate grades for the same course is simply because college and high school grading practices are extremely different, as I'm sure you probably remember from your own college versus high school experience. Usually in high schools, you take dozens of grades, you have the opportunity for reteaching, for retest, etc. And it gives students multiple opportunities to kind of relearn the material. Whereas college grading policies are quite different. You know, a deadline is a deadline there. You only have like 3 or 4 opportunities on average per semester to submit something for a grade. There's kind of a big disconnect there. The 2-grade model that you see at the bottom of this visual more constantly and consistently allows students to see the difference between grading policies. And after exposure to these different college grading policies, students are less likely to drop their future college course because they know what to expect and they're able to prepare accordingly. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, remember, out of those 100 8th graders that were followed over multiple years, less than half of them actually ended up getting a degree at the end of the day. We don't want that to be the case for your student. Early exposure is kind of key here, and being able to see the difference between high school versus college grading policies and the amount of grades that are taken on both sides is kind of a wake-up call and a kind of ease for the student into this kind of new terrain in education. So we found that a lot of students find this to be helpful. I'm going to leave the course portion up to our facilitators here so they can kind of give you a better idea of what's going on in computer science. Paul can actually talk to you about what's going on in the classroom. I'll kind of circle back to that at the end. But just to kind of give you an idea, in becoming an OnRamp student, the kind of overall experience, it sounds like your students have already started the school year, and have they already received their EID, Paul?
Yes, they've all done their EID, and I think they've all completed the orientation. So
Awesome.
they are enrolled in my class, and I'm now tracking their progress.
Perfect. And something I like to highlight on this part too is the UT EID that students receive in an OnRamps course. If they go on to attend the University of Texas, this will be the same UT EID that follows them there. They are enrolled in a UT course. This is actually a course that UT freshmen would take if they were on the physical UT Austin campus. So your student has already kind of taken that first step that people don't normally take till their freshman year of college. They're enrolled in the system. They are part of UT. Just to highlight, because I get a lot of questions throughout the year from different people on this matter, your students didn't need anything but the necessary high school prerequisite courses to take this class. So essentially they needed Algebra 1 to be able to be considered for this type of class. They didn't have to take any sort of TSI, ACT, SAT course, because we want as many students as possible to be able to engage with this material. At the midpoint that you see highlighted here, students will have a chance to kind of check their grade. And if they have a D- or higher, which is technically a passing grade in college, it's going to show that a student is on track to earn college credit. That means at the UT campus level, if they were in Austin, they would be passing the course, they would be doing well to earn credit. Hopefully they're making higher than a D-, but just know that's kind of the floor here. For those that are failing, if they're making below a D-, if they're making an F, the midpoint acts as kind of a reflection or retooling experience of sorts. It's going to allow students to kind of reassess what's working versus what's not working. Do I need to go to office hours more? Do I need to form a study group with friends? Do I need to just kind of overhaul my school mentality and the time I'm devoted to the course? We usually see students take that as kind of the wake-up call period of here's what needs to change and how can I achieve that kind of change. There are ways for students, if they are failing at the midpoint section, to submit at that point qualifying TSI scores to be able to continue in the course for college credit. But remember, it's being in the course and not even earning that credit, which is what's going to double their chances for success in college. So a student can not be doing so great on the college side, but could still be passing the high school side, because again, that's the side that's allowing them to have more grades, to have more intervention, et cetera, and they're still engaged in that overall experience that's going to set them up for a double chance of success. We want students to stay engaged with the course. At the end of the course, students are going to have a 5-day window to decide if they want to accept their grade or not. And this is what makes our course really unique from a dual credit institution, is because in that 5-day window, they're going to essentially be able to look at their grade and say, hey, do I want to generate a UT transcript, or do I want to just have the high school grade and call it a day? Because we want students to have a low risk opportunity to be engaged with the course and to kind of dip their toe in the college going waters. We don't want a grade to kind of haunt them for the rest of their college experience. So in the past, we've had some students that make a B in the college course, which is great, especially for your first time in high school taking a college course, but they decline the UT transcript. They decide, I don't want to generate anything because I want to get in the honors program at my school someday, and I don't want the B to be the first grade on my college transcript. And that's okay, and it's perfectly within their right to do so. We encourage students to kind of call around to different admissions offices in the schools that they're interested in and ask them, hey, what will you do with this grade? They're not calling to ask, hey, will you take this grade? Because again, these are UT level courses. UT is a tier 1 institution, highly regarded across the nation. Schools are likely to take that grade. It's a core credit grade. It's something that all freshmen need to be able to, continue on into upper level courses. That's not what they're calling around to ask about. What they're asking about is, how will this grade transfer? Will you take the letter grade, or will you just take a credit versus no credit type of situation? And that's what's going to really inform the students and allow them in that grade period window to decide what's most beneficial or advantageous for them. And we have different course staff members too that can even talk through this process with your student when we get into the April-May window when they're deciding on course eligibility. Because again, we want them to make the best decision for them. Just to kind of wrap up a couple of big points here, We're hoping that this unique process provides an easier transition from high school to college, because we want to double your chances of success as they transition to the college-going institution. As mentioned earlier, the courses that we offer are transferable. They count as the quote-unquote basics or the core curriculum credit at universities. But we also want skills gained through our coursework to transfer to the higher ed institution and future careers that your students might choose. Many college courses offer courses that are worth thousands of dollars, but our course cost is at a flat rate because we want to ensure savings to your students and pass that along to them. And the cost already includes the course's digital textbook, so there's no added fee at the end of the day. Matriculation, our students are going to college, and as the next point notes, they are passing. And then the time to degree, we want students to be able to graduate in as close to 4 years as possible. And we want them to learn how to succeed in a college course while they're in high school, so they have those support systems that I mentioned earlier. Right here, I think it's skipped one. Okay. This is kind of reiterating some of those points that I mentioned earlier, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But I do want to highlight by the numbers here what this looks like. These numbers are from our 2019-2020 academic school year, so they could actually be updated as soon as the enrollment period ends in September. But this is to show that the OnRamp's network of students, of teachers, of administrators is robust, and that the growing number of students that are seen here are entering college and the workforce with necessary skills and experiences needed to be successful. And then this number here, this statistic, I mean, it's impressive when you first see it, because it says that OnRamp's awarded over 67,000 semester credit hours in the 2018-2019 school year, and 90% of eligible students earned college credit. This highlights that students had the choice of whether or not they wanted to accept the credit, or they deemed it beneficial at the end of their year-long experience. And of the students eligible for the college grade, again, the majority of them decided that they were going to carry this grade with them into college. And then again, to highlight that this isn't just a UT thing here, this map shows all of the OnRamps courses that went on to be accepted at a wide variety of institutions. We can only guarantee with 100% certainty that OnRamps courses will transfer to public institutions of Texas. But as you can see on the map, again, this is a UT course, so usually we don't have any trouble getting out-of-state institutions or private institutions to accept OnRamps credit as well. And we've even had Ivy League institutions like Harvard and Stanford accept OnRamps course credit, because again, they think if you can pass a UT course, you must be well qualified for college, and they trust that it's a quality credit. And then just to kind of close with a testimonial from a student, this is that OnRamps has made me feel incredibly prepared for college and has really helped me grow as a writer. At the beginning of the fall semester, I could barely write a one-page double-spaced summary and analysis of an editorial, but the last paper of the second semester, I wrote a 5-page paper on a topic that I researched and planned by myself. And I think that's a good quote, because it just kind of summarizes, again, that students are taking responsibility for their own learning, and they're learning skills that are transferable and that will be meaningful later on. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to pass things along to Mr. Austin.
Well, thank you very much, Megan. That's covered a lot. I think as I'm transferring, I'll pass on. There's a wide set of courses that OnRamp covers, and so that applicability to degrees will kind of vary somewhat depending upon which piece, what they pursue when they're in college. I just wanted to give you a glimpse into what the students are actually seeing. Megan mentioned this is the Canvas LMS platform. This is what UT uses. We're actually just using a special section of it called the OnRamps. That's why they'll log on to onramps.instructure.com. But everything about this platform they're seeing is very much the way UT is working. And I've listed out just a few pieces of it on the side that we've already dealt with in our class. They got their EID. So then I know how to sign in. That EID will be the same one they would use if they registered later on for another OnRamps, or they in fact enrolled in the University of Texas. They're becoming familiar with the assignment submission process, and that will vary based on assignment. But in our case, for one, it's common to have one where they can submit something, and then like for major piece, I'll say submit it when you think you've got it ready, and then if you want to keep working on it, you can submit it again, and they'll be queued up. And so for a particular assignment, the policy will be that we'll take the last one in. But that helps them avoid trying to perfect it and then having the router go down at 11:50 or something like that. Because in a situation like that, the university, that would be unfortunate. As they would say, the window of opportunity for submitting the grade has closed. And that doesn't sound like, oh, it's late, it's just a few minutes. So we're trying to prepare students to understand how important that is and how important it is to plan ahead. This particular class is based on a project-based learning, so we're going to form teams, and the LMS system we're working with will help them. So whether or not they're in class or online, they have discussion groups, which will allow them to share and exchange stuff within that. And right now, we actually just today kicked off an assignment where the students have, they've read about a 17-page article, and now they're reflecting on it and they're posting it. And then that process, they post their part. And once they posted their response, then they can read others. And their next part of that assignment is actually to go and read some others and to comment on them. And so that's part of the rubric of this assignment. So even just in the second week, this is as it looks at Summit. I'm going to go flip to the next slide here. These are the white dots that you're seeing here. Look down there. The little white dots are kind of representing the different grades that are part of the class, the grades that we'll see, like the daily and minor assignments that are part of the class that we're having here. And what I'm looking at is the fall 2020. So there's going to be 3 major sections that will happen in this fall. One of them is going to be the one we're doing right now, is impact, sort of understanding how computing impacts the world around us. It's equipping the students to sort of understand the implications of what they do online. I think we see a lot of that already in terms of news headlines, but they're less familiar, for example, how metadata on phone and how pictures and how traceable everything they can do is. So that's the first part, just understanding that. But the part I want you to see here is that there's going to be many daily assignments that will, as far as you parents here, you'll see that on RenWeb. You'll see some action show up on the Google Classroom, which I have as a shell. But a core of it's going to be on the Summit version of that same Canvas LMS. In fact, students can install an app on their phone that gives them even faster notifications for doing those. So there's going to be 3 of those sections in the fall. The first one's on impact. Then we're going to do some basic programming. And then we're going to look into communications or representation, how the digital information is shared. But the point I want you to see key from here is for the Summit class, basically, we're going to take as one of the major projects is going to be the work that they're going to turn into the University of Texas a few days later. And that orange strip, that will be entirely graded by the instructors that are part of the OnRamps program, and they work underneath the professors at university. So if a student, and this, Megan mentioned self-advocacy, if there was a question they had about the UT grade, they would interact with the OnRamps instructor, not with myself. And so in fact, I have very little window into that part that they're doing in the UT side. My program is exactly the same as part of the OnRamps. I have a copy of that LMS, but they are full college students in this regard. And this represents to the end of the semester from a Summit point of view. At the end, that's where it's a checkpoint where, as Megan was saying, that's when they're really determined, are they on track and eligible to continue. In the spring semester, there's going to be 3 more sections, but because of how UT's grading time works, because it needs to be done a little earlier, only those first 2 will go into that. And once that second project is done in the spring, that's the little diamond I have there, that's when they're going to have that 5-day window. So I just want to give you a sense of the number of major projects are going to be, the idea that we are going to have somewhat of a daily grade. It may not be every day, but we will have those with Summit. And all of those are building scaffolding and all preparing them to take the tests and to turn in the projects that will be part of the UT. That's kind of the summary I wanted to show, just how these two things overlap. Any questions out there or comments you want to make, Megan or Ms. Wilson?
One of the things that, as a guidance counselor, this scaffolding is huge for our students, because this takes away kind of the shock factor of when they go their freshman year to college and they're like, oh, my grade's based on 4 grades. So this kind of takes away that shock factor of their freshman year. They know, okay, yes, in high school I got a whole set of grades for this one unit, but in college I'm going to either take a test or I'm going to turn in a project, and I'm only going to get that 1 grade on this whole unit. And so we're trying to get them to scaffold towards that, because that will make them be so much more successful when they hit that 4-year university. I know when I went to A&M, it was a huge learning curve, that first round of tests, where I was like, whoa, wait a minute, and I only have 2 more or 3 more to change my grade. So this is a safe way to try this and to get used to that before you have it's actually, you don't have a choice whether it's on your college transcript or not.
All right, well, I wish you guys the best evening. I know your kids will have homework and other things to do tonight. All right. Thanks again, Megan.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, take care all.